Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the future of law enforcement. ED-209.
Dick, I'm very disappointed.
Well, hello and welcome back. It's time for another new build. It's Tuesday today. I didn't get started yesterday like I normally would. This last weekend has been brought to you by the letter B. It's been one of those weekends. So I needed yesterday to kind of recoup and get everything squared away and fixed up and back to normal. But today I am pleased as heck, pleased as all get out to be working on this kit. You saw the opening screen. You know what it is. It is the ED-209. Now it's always a delight to me when I can do a model that hasn't been done before, or a subject that hasn't been done before. I know there was a vinyl kit of ED-209. I never picked that up, and I know there are STL files of an ED-209. I'm still not sold on the idea of an entire kit being printed. I still like the idea of a printing accent parts or additional parts, but not the whole kit, unless it is an organic figure. And maybe I'll make the distinction here. Vehicles, hard-edged things, ships, vehicles, speeder bikes, robots, whatever. That sometimes it can be hit or miss when you're 3D printing something, as far as being able to keep flat planes and angles and not see a lot of build lines. Somewhat easier to do that with a organic kit, like a bust or a character, or like a monster or a creature, something that doesn't have hard right angled edges and parts that have to fit together precisely. So leaving that to the side, I was delighted to when Steve announced that he had a few of these on his site. This is the Good Smile Company ED-209. This is the same company that made that wonderful Aliens Power Loader kit that I did a while back. So I know the quality is going to be right up there. But it is the ED-209. It is a robot that has been sorely missing in my collection of robots. Everybody has a particular area of passion. Mine is split up between enterprises and robots. If my house were to catch on fire and I had to run out of the house with one thing, I wouldn't. I'd throw myself on my pile of enterprises and robots and go down with the ship, because there's just no way to get them all out of the house in time. But that having been said, I have been wanting a good ED-209 kit. And looks like we've got it. I would do a meet the parts, but the table is literally full of parts. So we're not going to be doing an individual meet the parts. We're going to be spending the week on this. I really want to give it its due. It is, like I said, it's the Good Smile Company, so it is in that area or that wing of modeling that is Bandai-esque. The parts are very well engineered. They will probably snap together, although I will be gluing a lot of the parts. And it is meant to be posable, which is great, because there's a lot of good ED-209 poses you could put this in. So I don't know exactly what all the features are going to be. I have been poring over the instructions, because like I said, I've been wanting to get to this. I just needed to get some other stuff cleaned up and off my plate before I could. We are going to, say we, you're not helping me, I am going to. Be repainting this. Like I said last week, there's just something in me that won't allow me to put up a model that is unpainted. It has been molded in colors. There's a black, there's a blue, a deep bluish gray. This is what's got me bugged, though. This is the body color, the hull color, for lack of a better term. It is this baby blue, bluish gray color. I'm not 100% sold on that. I think Ed needs to be a little bit grayer than this. So I'm going to be mixing up my own color, which is going to be a combination of light gray and light blue, which is these two colors. And that's what I'm going to be painting the majority of the body. And I'm going to do a lot of this painting before I do any assembly, and then I'll touch up the painting after assembly. I think that's the best way to handle these Bandai-ish parts, because I don't know until I get it put together, like what areas are going to overlap and what areas I'm going to need to be masking off. Now, this big, what I call the microphone head, this big part here, that's going to be painted a flat black. And some of these might be flat black, some of them might be semi-gloss, just to give me some different tones and textures. I would like to keep, this is the gasketing that goes around the neck and I think the ankles. I might want to do those in a gloss just to make them look like a rubber. So we're going to have fun. We're going to age this, not too much, because again, like so many of the other subjects that I paint or models that I make, ED-209 is brand new. This is the scene of him coming straight into the boardroom, just as he's being introduced to the board at OCP. So he's not going to be heavily weathered. He might have some little exhausts scorching here and there, and I may do some panel accenting on some of the nuts and bolts that are visible, but he's not going to be heavily weathered like he might have been later in the movie. So that's kind of letting you know where I'm coming from. He's showroom clean almost. So let me start by taking some of these blue parts. I don't think I'm going to do a gray primer on any of these. I'm just going to go straight into color and then see how it goes from there. So I'm going to first get out or separate out the blues from the grays, so to speak, and we'll get a coat of paint on some of this. Now, like I said, this is, take it all in, kids, this is the pile of parts, and this is where we're going to get started on. So I need to clean off of the desk what I can clean off. I'm getting less and less real estate here. If you've noticed over the last few months, things have been encroaching, and I need to decroach them. I need to clean off some space. So we're going to remove those parts which I don't need right away and concentrate on these bluish gray ones. All right, I've got a nice coat of the first gray blue on the gray blue parts. Now the keen observer will notice it's a little bit bluer. I'm sorry, a little bit grayer than the molded plastic. This was a combination of light gray and sky gray. If I flip it over and show you an unpainted part, it'll be a lot easier to notice how much bluer the unpainted sides are. Now, this will give me enough to where I could start doing construction, and then as we get finished parts and I clean up the seam work, I can go back over them with the paint and touch that paint back up. But really, this is designed to get paint in places where once it's put together, it's not going to be as easy to get paint. So that's why I'm kind of doing this. And here are the two main body halves, and I have a couple more of these trees that are runners, that are frames, I guess you would want to call them. A couple more of the frames that are in the other room because there's only so much table space I have. So we're coming up on an early lunch, but I think I need to run out to the hobby shop and pick up some more of this light blue and the sky gray just to have on reserve. And while I'm at it, I may pick up a dark gray and restock my my flat blacks to make sure I don't run out of them when I need them. Alrighty, I'm back from lunch and I've given these parts a chance to dry. So we're going to start doing some construction now. It looks like what we're starting with is the main body and the interior of said main body. So now we're going to find out how much of the pieces that I have been working on are going to be completely covered up. So let's get started. We're going to do, I'm not going to video the whole thing, that's ridiculous, but I will do perhaps maybe a page at a time, or 2 page, maybe this initial stage, and then we'll work on, let's see, the first stage is the center, and then we've got some work on the guns, and then the legs. So yeah, let's do this center stuff first. All right, we've got a good good start going. We got the first major chunk of Ed done. We got Ed's head. Here's Ed's head. Say hello to Ed's head. Hi, Ed's head. This is Ed's head. Now the next bit they want to start on, and I'm only, because you know there's not a lot of English instruction on here, is where it says arm unit. Some of the big stuff is labeled in English, but some of it is not. Most of it is not. I'm curious what's going to happen when we get down to cutting these different lengths of wire and the piping that goes to the gun. I don't see exactly. I mean, I see the lengths and the millimeters and all that, but I don't know what that's telling me as far as how many of each I need to cut, what color they need to be, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of guessing on that. I might go online and see if there are any English instructions on this, or translations of the Japanese instructions. So we have got this chunk done. This is a good friendly amount of it. We're gonna take a break and go off to do something else, because like I said, I don't want to burn through this all in one day. We're at a point now where we can weather this if we wanted to, although there's a certain amount of weathering that needs to be done kind of all at once at the end. But I could maybe go in and touch up some paint and see where we're running into issues. Now I need some dry brushing in here in the mouth. We could do that. Brush his teeth, so to speak. This is where I'm stopping for today. Like I said, it would be very tempting to barrel on through and do the whole thing. But, you know, I'd like to stretch it out a little bit. Prolong the fun. And, you know, maybe get some other things done around here. But we are, let me cleaning up just a tiny bit here. Flip the napkins for tomorrow. We have most of the top half done. Now we haven't got any of the complicated leg work done, but and of course we got big old thumbprints and glue marks and all that. But I want to impress upon you the poseability of this thing. Just like the power loader, this is like infinitely posable. It's better than most action figures, and of course this is all going to be, once you get it on the legs, it's all going to be like that, and stretch out to the side and spin and turn and dance and do all that kind of stuff. And of course these flaps go up and down. But yeah, that's a goodly amount to have done today, and we'll pick this up in the morning. Hello and welcome back, everybody. It is Wednesday. It is another day of work on the ED-209, and today, importantly, is leg day. You can't skip leg day, kids. We're going to start with the feet and work our way up. And, of course, you know, one of the characteristics of this iconic robot were the little wiggly toes. I just love everything about how Mr. Phil Tippett, animated this character down to the little toe wiggle. And I think you'll notice that he put a similar toe wiggle on not only the Garthok in Conehead's movies, but also the the giant At Walker in Empire Strikes Back. Once the thing falls over, you'll notice there's a little toe wiggle. And I think that has become his signature move. But these, and particularly when you're watching the ED-209 struggle with the idea of going down the stairs, and he's kind of gingerly testing with his toes, testing the stairwell. It is a fine character moment from an inanimate object, and that's just what you learn when you have a master animator who knows a thing or two about character, and you don't get that out of CGI. You just don't. That is stop motion gold right there. So enough of my high horsery. Let's get on with these feet. I've got all the parts laid out for both the feet, and I think I will build those and then come back after they're done and show you the finished feet foots. Feet are done, and it was far, far from the agony of defeat. I am really enjoying this kit. I don't know if I've said it enough. The parts are going together very well. They're nicely designed. They're the mobility that you're getting out of this kit is, again, like the power loader kit. it's, you know, it's treading that fine line between model, high-end replica model and toy. I mean, and I don't mean toy in a bad sense in this instance, because you can get your posability out of this. You could use this if you were skilled enough. You could use this as a stop motion armature to make your own film if you wanted to, because you can get very subtle incremental moves on parts and you know, film them one at a time. They don't have ratchets in them like they would normally in an armature, but this is just enjoyable as all get out, and I'm going to be sad when this one is done, I'll tell you that. So we've got the feet off to the side, and I can see opportunities in here where you've got some raised wiring where it looks like you could do some dry brushing over top of that with maybe a silver or something, and bring out, or a gunmetal maybe, and bring out some detail on that. So I'm looking forward to doing that. There's going to be a lot more fun painting on this than you might suspect. The parts that I did yesterday are actually in the other room to get them off the table here, but I've also started going in and painting, just because, you know, the plastic is molded in color doesn't mean you can't paint them. So I put some chrome over these accents, and I'm getting ready now that the feet are done. Let's see, the next step is to do the big chunk of the hip. Yeah, we're not quite on the pelvis, but we're on the hip, and this is where we're going to start working on springs and things. So let me put these feet over to the side and start working on the next chunk of leg. Back from lunch and working on the legs now. I have to tell you, I went ahead and put one together so that I could have my thoughts together before I turned the camera on. I was concerned that when I painted this part here, I was concerned that I would end up rubbing that paint off. But it looks like it is encapsulated in such a way that it is not really, it's kind of riding inside there, but it's not scraping any of the surface there. So I don't think we're worried about taking the paint off like we might have been. So that's going to sit inside here. I am loving the complexity of this thing. It's really coming together quite nicely. But that is one leg, and then of course the foot and everything happens down in there. But now we're ready to do the opposite side, and it's a question of taking one of these and the matching one of those, just kind of piecing it together here. What happens is it fits underneath. There's this metal rod in here that in the, I believe in the actual filming maquette, it was threaded. And, you know, that's a small price to pay that it is not threaded, because this definitely moves a lot smoother with it not being threaded. I think the threading might actually have been part of the stop motion armature of it. But see, we already have a bend in there like that, so that's on a joint. This is on a joint this way. We take this piece now, and that fits over top like that. This piece here fits over top of it on the other side, and that's what's really where the that's what's holding it in and allows that to slide against it like that without rubbing the paint. And we still have our twisting here. We don't have as much movement now as we used to, but we still have some. This side didn't click. Why isn't this side clicking? I missed the click. I may have to take that apart and see why that's not clicking. But we've got the click there. And now we've got both of our legs, right and left. And I need the other top. Where's the other? Here's the other top. This is the top that goes over the those silver rails. And I can glue this down. I just haven't chose to do that yet. Let me see if I want to match these up. Then it needs to go like that. See, to make it symmetrical, it needs to go like that. There we go. Okay, so now we've got these ready to go. And again, I like that click. I'm not hearing that click here. So let's take this apart. Again, part of the fun of having this Bandai-esque kit is that you can get in here, and if you choose not to glue it together, you don't have to. But the parts here are so well put together that you really don't need to glue them. I do it sometimes just to avoid Bandai squeak, because some of these plastic parts, as they are interacting with each other, can squeak, and that's why you glue them to avoid that. I'm trying to keep talking while this is coming apart. I'll just fix this. I'll be right back. Alright, we've got the legs done now, and I'm working on the pelvis. The legs such as they are. Now they will, of course, need a little cleanup, a little paint, little, you know, how are you doing on the cleanup here? I was a little bit ham-fisted putting things together and scratched the paint a little bit, but, you know, nothing beyond the pale of normal repair jobs. But now we've got, see, the thing is, once you've got both of the legs and the feet on them, you kind of have to make sure everything's pointing in the right way. Now we're going to do the pelvis, the area in betwixt, and let's see, that is this piece. Gotta make sure I have the chest piece the right way around. This, and then this inside. This was already pre-made. This was the pelvis part. These gears or inserts were already in place, and this was already screwed together when we got it. So there's nothing that can be said about that. And then we put this guy in. I'm guessing, yeah, he goes in like that. And then that goes around it. Nice. Want to make sure we don't get any glue in the movable bits. We don't want to glue anything into position that we don't have to. But I do want to get, there is no, the waist turning happens elsewhere. This is not a, I mean, the joint is right there, and that's the part that goes up into the head. So I don't have to worry about getting any slop on that joint. I just want to make sure that all of these pieces are put together. And yeah, I'm being a little bit loosey-goosey with the glue, and that is going to require some paint repair. But I just want to make sure everything has got a good and generous coat on it, so I don't have to worry about it later. Touch that again. Now, I have not put a lot of the surface details in, such as the guns on the end of the fists, or the arms. You know, I haven't put the guns in yet, and there's some details that go in here that I have not put in yet. I'm going to wait till I have my final repaint done on all of that, and then sanded any seams that I want to sand. The ironic thing is that some of the seams in this are, I hate to say baked in, but they were there on the physical prop. So getting rid of them doesn't do anybody any good. So I'll see if I can get a big old clamp on that. Yes, I can get a big old clamp on that. On both sides. We'll get that clamped together. And bring that in. Some of these joints are awfully tight. Now, of course, the fact that I painted them doesn't, in some instances, was working against me, but the joints are coming in nice and tight. And I can put, once that dries, I can put the legs together with that, and we will have both halves of this done. And I think that's a great place to end it for today. So we're gonna let this seal for a few minutes, and then come back and put everything together and show you what that looks like minus the surface details. Okay, now, outside of surface detail, and I'm talking about the wiring or the piping that goes on the guns. I'm talking about the guns themselves and some of these metal highlights, details. There you go. That is ready for the final work. Now I need to do a lot of paint touch-up on this, I don't mind telling you. Let's start with the fact that this gun should go like that. There's almost too much posability, if that's such a thing. There's almost too much posability. It will hold itself. It will hold itself, but there is, a world of choices that you can make for your ED-209. And we can do arms all the way down like this. We can move him down on the stocks, on the leg stocks. Pull those flaps out. And lower them on the stocks even to the bottom. Make him really compact to go through doors, or we can bring him up and spread his wings and all of that when he needs to look intimidating. So let's do that and that. There's some seams that need to be sanded, things like that. But there you go. Oh, the edge you can stand. I'm digging this kit. There's just no bad angle on this kit. And you can bring his legs the whole way up. If you're worried about any sort of instability, you can find a good balancing point. Like that. These legs kick out to the side. There's not a joint on here that you wish you could move that you cannot move. I just need to make sure I am happy with this duck egg color. Maybe he wants to be grayer in my book. I don't know. I think he might need to be a little grayer. But we're going to sit like this. We're going to sit with this overnight and come back to him in the morning and see how I feel. Well, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. And painting is continuing on Ed here. And I'm trying something. I'm struggling with the color here because I still think he's coming off as a little too blue. Even the duck egg blue is a little bit much. And the instructions really lean into the blue. The photos on the instructions. So what I've decided to do is I found a nice gray, which is medium sea gray, which has a blue tint to it. It is definitely on the cool side of gray, and I'm liking that as a good base color. But I'm trying to reconcile the fact that so many examples of this, when you see it, I've been watching YouTube, which is never a good idea, kids, because it just gives you, it's like Wikipedia. It's like anybody can put a video up. I should know. I've been doing it for years. And you can get as much bad information as you can good. And I always strive when I can to hew towards the reputable information. I would say the canon representation, or the gospel if you have to go that route. Check the movie, check the making of stuff on the movie disc, check any printed materials that have to do with your said topic. That is where you're going to find your best information. You can get influenced by really good stuff that. This is where I'm struggling, because a lot of examples that I see online, even the example in the instructions, show the ED-209 with a bunch of weathering on it. And that's just not true, at least not in the scene that I'm using, because when Dick introduces the board to the 209, it's brand new. It's like factory paint. It's like a brand new car. He's trying to impress the board with it, particularly the old man. So he's going to have it polished up, shined up. It's going to be as new and sparkling as it can be. Now, it's not to say that it hadn't been used at all, because you can see some scorching around the gun barrels where obviously, you know, it had been broken in on a test ground, you know, test track, if you will. But it does not have a lot of the typical weathering and scorching you might see. Now, later in the movie, when there's one that's been destroyed that is outside the grounds of OCP, then yeah, if you're doing that one, go nuts. But the initial introduction is the one I'm going for, and that just doesn't have all of the weathering. All of the chrome is nice and shiny. All of the surfaces have been, you know, wiped down. It's that's what I'm going for. And there was a couple of beautiful kits that I saw online, where the gentleman really went all out, adding more wiring and more piping and more weathering, down to where he's, you know, showing the technique of showing paint chipping off of it. That's great, and you can get overly influenced by that if you are if you're not careful, because again, find your reference, find what you want to do, and stick to your guns on it, and don't be taken down a albeit glorious path, but don't be taken down the wrong path on your paint job simply because you saw a really good example of it online. So that's why I always say stick to your references, find your reference, stick to that, and don't be out, you know, inadvertently influenced down the wrong way. So what I'm doing is I am minimizing some of the blue that's on here. I found this gray, and then I sprayed this as a test piece. This is the pelvis piece, and I sprayed this as a test piece with the gray, and then I went over it with a satin coat, clear satin coat, to get the nice shine. And only after I did the satin coat did I do the slightest bit of panel line accenting. And it was to accent this little indent right here. See, and you see a little bit of it in there, but it's not overly weathered. And having liked that, you can see where it is not nearly as blue as some other parts. Let me do this. There you go. Not nearly as duck egg blue as some other parts, but it's going to give me the inspiration I feel I need to repaint a big chunk of, all of the body work, but repaint it with this medium sea gray. So I've cleaned my airbrush out, got it all ready to go. We're going to do some major repainting. Then we're going to mask that off and paint in these details again. And then we're going to do some satin coating. And I've got all of today and I've got all of tomorrow to finish this. I really don't seem to need to stretch it into next week. But I feel we can get everything we need to get done today and tomorrow. So let me shut up and get back to painting. Alrighty, I have repainted a lot of this base painting. And we are to a point now we're going to let these dry for a little bit. And then hit them with the satin coat. And hopefully that satin coat will allow me to then go in with the panel line accent and draw in some very fine details. Most notably, all of those rivets that you see, like, well, here on the legs, you can see them all. And if you can just put a little dot of the panel line accent around those, that'll draw out the detail without making them look overly weathered. You can see that I still have the silver bits on the rails there taped off, and I probably will not spray those with the satin, because you know how satin can sometimes interfere with a metallic coat, the satin clear coat. And there are no decals. I'll check. I don't believe there are any decals that go on those rails, so they don't need to have any sort of gloss coat or satin coat on them to facilitate the decaling. No, it looks like these guys might have some decals on them, so I will spray those with a satin coat, and I might have to touch up the metallic after that. But you can see what the effect I'm shooting for. Just that bit, like right in there, inside that inset rectangle, and around these rivets. But I don't want to do a lot of this overboard weathering here. Just something subtle. Try to keep it subtle. That may be the lesson for this model, will be the restraint on weathering, and see if I can hold myself back from going overboard. Now I have sprayed this with a flat aluminum, and I do want to get a gloss coat on that, or a clear coat, satin coat on that. So we're letting everything sit and breathe for a little bit, and that includes me. Okay, this rarely happens. I can't remember the last time it did. I just had my paint job ruined by the flat coat. Flat coat of satin over top of it, and it must be because it's towards the bottom of the can. Maybe it wasn't shaken quite as well as it should have been, but it did an ugly to my paint. So these are going to have to be repainted and then refinished. Yeesh, hate that. Make sure your clear coats are fresh, or your clear coat can is fresh and well shaken, I guess. Yikes. Well, good morning one more time for this week. It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week. It will be the last work day on the ED-209, and that means details and decals today. And I've already started on the decals. They're going down very nicely. It's a pleasure to work with these after having done so many lately that were cut your own off the sheet, and you have to trim them real tight. These are standard stock decals that have carrier film, so I don't have to worry about trimming them out so tightly to the imagery. But I've started a strange amount of them. A strange amount of the decals go on these parts here, which I haven't even attached to the kit yet. So I went ahead and decaled them while they were still on the sprue, because not only are they much easier to work that way, but then I can let them dry while I'm working on other aspects of the kit, and then pop them on at the end. I've got decals to do, and then I've got the wiring to do. There's wiring that goes on each of the arms, and particularly around the area where these missile launchers are, and these guns, and the gun on the right arm goes. So I can start my decals, let that be drying while I'm working on the wiring, and hopefully by the time the wiring is done, all this will be dry enough to put a final coat of flat over it. I put some of the gloss varnish, the Vallejo gloss varnish, just under where the decals are going, so that they'll lay down flat and there will be no air bubbles trapped underneath. Everyone knows the glossier the surface, the better your decal will look, because you're not getting that silvering, which happens when you put decals over an irregular or pebbly surface. And if you work with flat Tamiya paints, that really makes it exacerbates it. That's the word I was looking for. It makes the surface a lot more pebbly. It's a rough paint more. It doesn't lay flat like some of the other ones do. So it's more important to put a gloss over that to make your surface as level as possible, so that your decals don't get air trapped under them, and that's what causes the silvering. So I'm going to finish up some more of these decals that I've got to do on the legs. There's only a scant few of them that go on the legs. There's like one there, and then there's this big detail piece. But I can move that off the side and then concentrate on the ones that go here on the body. There's some up here on this upper deck, and then probably the most notable ones are these circles that go here and here. So I'm checking everything's backed in white, so we shouldn't have a problem with the colors showing up. And I'm going to progress with that and then show you how that looks when we're all done. Alrighty, I think I'm done with decals. I think I have depleted my decals except for the extras, the superfluous. Always loved that word, superfluous. You have fluous and then you have superfluous. We do have extras. I mean, they gave us extras, and there are a couple different options. Like you could use in this place, you could use one of 3 different decals. So I'm assuming they may have had different references from different scenes. I think the maybe the decals on the stop motion puppet were different than the full sized stand-in prop. Maybe that's why. Maybe they just want to give you options, but they do. And I love the fact that these are so large. The decals are so large you can actually read the fine print in here. Do not open fuel cell, extreme intake hazard, max PSI, radical, of course a bunch of dangers and warning signs all over it. And these ones here are particularly fun. These are the ones that say, this is basically the no user serviceable parts here. If you open it up, you will violate your warranty, that type of thing. This warning, do not attempt to alter or open ED-209. Owner will automatically void warranty, I think is what it says. This is ready to be drying. I've got to touch up a couple spots of flat black. I want to do that quick and then set all this aside, because really the last thing to go is the piping and wiring on this, well, on both arms really, but mostly on the right hand there. Decals there. And you know, this is one of those things where it's important to pay attention. I had the elbow joints on backwards because they are wild. I mean, they're very symmetrical and they do fit both ways. I was just checking to make sure that it does go that way. And you know, there's another spot here. I could put another 9. Yeah. You see how we have, there's a decal there. Right in there. There's nothing on that side. So I think I'm going to be, my symmetry is playing up. And I think I want to go ahead and put one there just to keep it all nice and symmetrical. So we'll set that down. And let me see. I need to get a little bit of flat black. Actually, no. I think I used rubber black on that. I used the rubber black on all of this part here, which is a gaskety type of material anyway, and I think I used it on what I'm calling the microphone head here. Just let me touch that up. Yeah, that was rubber black. That wasn't flat black. And I'm just hitting spots where my masking was a bit clumsy. Okay. This is probably the most iconic part of Ed, is this big, it looks like a microphone, looks like a boom mic, but the big head here. And I'm just touching up this edge. Back on that corner. This is the time you want to be extra careful, because everything is nice and clean and you don't want to stick your big old thumb in something that's going to cause you to have to go back and repaint again. Now, particularly because I've got the decals down, I don't want to have to repaint anything. And I mean, I know that there are extras, but it's not like there's another complete set of decals, so got to be very, very careful. Yeah, I only check now to see whether or not it's on camera. I'd rather show you happy results than painstaking method, or in action shots. I'd rather be showing you how it turned out than actually painting on camera and have me screw up, and then you hear me say unkind things, and that's nobody's fun. Okay, we're set. We are ready to put this to the side and let that dry. All the decals and paint can be drying there. Same animal here. Decals are drying. And we will turn our attention to cutting these. We have a multitude of these. We've got all kinds of wire, but let me put this last. Let me put this last decal. It's not there. It's not there. There it is. Okay. Put this last one down. A little bit of wetness over where it's going. And grab it with the tweezers of doom. Slide it off. Boom. Shakalaka. When the walls fell. Let's see. Dry it out with a blot with a. I love it when people call these cotton buds. You can always tell. The American tendency is to go ahead and call that a Q-tip, because we call everything by the brand name and not by what it actually is. You can go Xerox something on any copier, but you're still Xeroxing it. You can get any brand of tissue, but you're still grabbing a Kleenex. You can almost grab any brand of soda, but it's still getting a Coke. That's just the way we lazy Yanks like to do it. So I have the decals down. I'm getting ready to pull out the instructions. I think what I'd like to do, since, well, I'll say there are decals on the elbow pieces, but what I will need to do is cut these to length, and I want them to be at the longest that they're ever going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and make that elbow as 90 degree as possible, because that is going to give me the maximum length that these need to be. Now, they do have a wire inside, and they're meant to be trained along that distance, so that when you straighten this back out, these will bunch out like they're supposed to, but this will give me the correct length that I can snip. There is some Japanese writing with a 50 millimeter measure. Again, I'll go back to the instructions here for that particular part. Here you go. 55 millimeters, but the rest of this is Japanese and I don't know what it says. So I'm going to make them a nice comfortable length, and then I'm going to make them look like they ought. But I don't think I'm going to go with a particular millimeter of measure. Okay, the wires are in. I'll tell you, that's a chore. That was a chore and a half, and I am extremely glad they gave me lots of extras. Just to get all of those in and get them so that, I mean, it's easy enough to do it if you're going to use the full length of the wire and make it really bulbous and ballooning. But if you want to make them tight and look like they are fitted, you have to trim the length of these things, and sometimes guessing what that is, you end up trimming off too much, and you have to scrap that one or use it in another place and start again with another full length. But I'm glad these have wire in them, so you can do some training of the direction, but they don't cooperate as much as you would like them to. And I'm going to put a touch of CA just at the very top of those where they go into the, what happened to my toothpick? I had a toothpick here, it went somewhere. Where did it go? That's annoying. Well, I'll use one of these little scraps and just touch the top of the wire here where it's going into this junction, so that it kind of locks it in place. But there you go. I'm going to let that, set that to the side to dry. I still have to do what I did on these elbow joints is I glued the first end in, and now those are good and tight and they're not going anywhere. And I can do the same. I'm going to find that bloody toothpick. Is it stuck to me somewhere? Did it go rolling on the floor? Last time I looked, it was actually stuck to my arm, and I don't find it. So, let's see where it went. I can grab another one. It's not like it's the last toothpick on earth. It's just that, you know, you hate losing track of things. It was on the floor. But these are a simple case of, well, let's see, I've got some glue out already. So I take the toothpick and just a little dot inside the hole. Now I've already cut these to length when I glued the first side in. I test fit it because these holes are nice and big and easy to get to, unlike the ones on the gun. So I can hopefully make short work of them. But you take, let's make sure we're in camera and I can see what's going on. So right about there. Okay, we grab the first one. I hate working black on black. It's not a racist comment. It's a comment about black wires going into... It was really horrible on the gun because you had a black wire going into a black hole on a black part and you could not see where you were going, even with the light shining straight down in it. So these ones are a little bit better because it's black going into silver and I can see what I'm doing and all the children are happy. And there you go. That's the 3 wires going into, and now when I open this up, I'm going to do that to put some tension on that, but they stay in place like that. So let's do the other one, and that's pretty much, outside of letting things dry and then putting flat coats on it, that's pretty much the end of this build. So we'll do this last bit and then we'll take some stock here. Now, because of the nature of it being articulated and posable and all of that, there are joints that will never be glued, such as the well, anything that needs to articulate. Again, just get this up in camera, and the old tweezers. Get in the hole. Okay, even here in the center. And the last one. There we go. And put a little bit of tension on those so that they all go down into their holes. Lovely. It looks like that. And we set those to the side. And I'm going to take a break and a little constitutional because that was a lot of fiddly work and concentration, and it gives me the headache. So I'm going to clean up here and take stock of what parts I've got and what parts still need to be worked on. And maybe we will put these on the legs next. We'll see how well they have dried. Yeah, those look great, as a matter of fact. These yellow ones have sucked down around the details very nicely. Okay, so that may be our next step. So I'm going to take a bit of a break and I'll be right back. And there's a finished ED-209. I hope you don't mind. Now the only thing left to do is put a flat coat over the decals. I'll wait till later this afternoon, till I'm closer to being ready to finish the video up for the week, that I will spray it with a flat coat. And I want to give the decals all the time I can for them to dry before I do that, or for the the water around them to dry, but it is eminently posable. Still has a bit of a blue cast to it, and that is because of the cool gray that I used. It is medium C gray 2 is what I used, XF83, and you still get that little bit of that blue cast to it. But we're gonna let this sit, and then we'll come back and do a wrap-up. And that, my friends, is it. We have finished the ED-209, and what a great kit. I really enjoyed this kit. I'm kind of sad to see it go. It just fits perfectly. It is a robot. It is, you know, right size. It'll fit on your shelf. It'll fit in with my collection of robots very nicely. Very happy to finally have an ED-209 in my collection. It's one of those things that you don't realize that it's how much of a missing piece it is until you put it next to everything else, and it's like, oh yeah, that slots in perfectly with the rest of the collection. Just a great kit. If you have the coin, I highly recommend it. So until next week, when who knows what we'll be building, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, be good to each other. Stay inside if you can. It's stinking hot out there. Reminds me of the line from Time Bandits I always use when someone says it's stinking hot. Oh, it's stinking Kevin. It's stinking Kevin out there. So y'all be good, and we'll see you here next time. Remember, you have 20 seconds to comply.